honey, sit down for this one, because what went down with Meghan Markle and that Harper's Bazaar cover, whew, it's a mess you won't believe. Everyone saw those glossy pictures, the fancy outfits, the perfectly staged smiles, but no one really knew what was happening behind those cameras. And let me tell you, that shoot was not the fairy tale Meghan wanted. It was the day her royal glamour revival turned into a full-blown reality check. You see, Harper's Bazaar didn't mean to expose her, but Lord, they did loud and clear. What was meant to polish her image ended up peeling off every shiny layer until only the truth was left. Behind the couture gowns and that carefully practiced princess stare was a woman fighting to control a story slipping right out of her hands. The magazine didn't plan a takedown, but when the lights came on and the photos dropped, everyone saw it, the Duchess of Delusion in all her filtered glory. From the first glance, something just felt off. The cover looked like a fight between Photoshop and panic. Meghan didn't even look like herself, not the Hollywood version, not the Royal Duchess version, just some AI-generated imitation with all the real edges sanded away. Sources whispered that the airbrushing team went to war with those pictures, blur, soften, erase, stretch, liquefy till her face gleamed smoother than a marble countertop. Every wrinkle vanished, every shadow erased, every ounce of human texture deleted. It wasn't beauty, it was plastic. And those poses, oh child, they were something else. At one point, she stood stiff as a scarecrow freshly escaped from a cornfield. Then came that ridiculous flipper stance, legs spread like she was about to row a canoe through Buckingham Palace. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, she got caught, I kid you not, chewing gum during the shoot on a luxury fashion set. Even a mall photo booth would have said, "Sweetie, no, that wasn't elegance, that was chaos in designer heels." But underneath the laughter and secondhand embarrassment was something darker, a kind of haunting desperation. Because sources say Meghan styled herself that way for one reason. She wanted to channel Princess Diana. Not softly, not subtly, but almost like she was auditioning to become Diana's ghost. Look at the windswept hair, the soft sad eyes expression, the loose white blouse, and gentle silhouette all screams of Saint Diana energy. It didn't feel like homage, it felt like cosplay. And not the fun kind. Even fashion editors whispered that Meghan had entered her Diana performance era. But here's the thing, Diana's power was never staged. It was real, effortless human. Meghan tried to recreate that vulnerability by force, and oh, it backfired spectacularly. Instead of grace, it looked like grasping. Instead of emotional depth, it gave confusion. Instead of nostalgia, it gave nerves. It was as if she thought she could copy Diana's magic, but all she did was remind people what she could never be. And baby, the drama didn't stop there. Because this shoot, this Harper's Bazaar comeback, wasn't just a creative project, it was her last resort. Whisperers in the fashion world claim Meghan didn't just accept the Bazaar offer, she begged for it. Before that, she'd gone knocking on Vogue's door, asking for a co-cover with Princess Catherine of all people. Yes, ma'am. She wanted a power duo photo shoot, Duchess versus Duchess, side by side in couture, but Vogue shut that idea down real fast. Apparently, she demanded full creative control and royal-level treatment she just didn't have the public clout for anymore. So, when Vogue said absolutely not, she pivoted to Harper's Bazaar. Still respected, sure, but not the summit she'd set her sights on. And this time, the Bazaar team didn't treat her like a global icon. They treated her like what she'd become, a celebrity trying to revive a fading brand. The result? The very project meant to restore her dignity ended up spotlighting her delusions. And that Duchess of Delusion nickname? After this shoot, it stuck like glue. Now, wait till you hear about the moment that said everything without saying a word. Picture this. A quiet, elegant brownstone on the Upper East Side. Empty, calm, just Meghan and a few crew members. Before anything starts, the house manager steps forward dramatically and announces, "Meghan, Duchess of Sussex," to absolutely no one. No guests, no crowd, not even a cat. The room was empty, child, empty. But she needed her title announced like she was walking into Westminster Abbey. Sources swear she insists people introduce her by title even when it's weird or unnecessary. Because let's be real, when someone truly has status, they don't have to remind you. The room already knows. But Meghan clings to that title like it's her last life jacket after years of bashing the monarchy. She still wears Duchess of Sussex like a designer badge. That little moment, the empty room announcement, wasn't just dramatic, it was tragic. It revealed a woman terrified of being ordinary, desperate to be important, performing royalty for an audience of none. If the photo shoot exposed her obsession with image, the interview exposed her obsession with narrative. Harper's Bazaar probably thought they were doing a soft, empowering profile, but when the words hit print, it read like a confession written by her own PR team. She said she was finally ready to tell her story again, as if the world hadn't already heard every chapter through Netflix specials, podcasts, and a whole autobiography. She had talked about being the smart one, though her public flubs and mixed-up timelines tell another tale entirely. Then came the kicker. She said she'd learned from her mistakes and wouldn't repeat them. But baby, she was repeating them right there. The dramatic self-praise, the victim narrative, the polished pity party, the same act, new outfit. It's like watching someone swear they've changed while reading straight from the same old script. By the end, she didn't sound reborn. She sounded exposed, a woman trying to debut a new chapter but trapped in yesterday's story. And, oh lord, there's this one scene that could make a cactus sweat from secondhand awkwardness. During the shoot, Meghan posed with a group of young girls. Sweet idea, right? Duchess inspires next generation, all that. Except it wasn't sweet. Sources say the room felt stiff, icy, like everyone wanted out. The girls stood awkwardly, eyes darting at the cameras. Some stared too long, some looked away, pretending to spot a bird just to escape the moment. Nobody looked happy. It wasn't empowerment, it was a PR trap disguised as mentorship. And when you look at those photos now, the forced smiles, the tension, you can feel it. The girls looked uncomfortable, like they realized standing beside her wasn't an honor, it was an accessory moment for Meghan's brand revival. The authenticity Diana once radiated naturally. Meghan was trying to script it, and it showed. But let's go deeper, because behind the couture and camera flashes was something even more telling. During the interview, Meghan spoke about Harry, and at first it sounded sweet. "No one in the world loves me more than him," she said, hand over heart, voice trembling just right for the quote. Sounds romantic, doesn't it? Except it didn't feel real. People who've been around them say she doesn't express love to him, she performs it for the world. Every compliment sounds rehearsed, every gesture timed for the headline. And here's the thing, when someone suddenly overpraises their partner right before a big shift, it's often a red flag. Like they're pre-writing their defense. Look, I said he loved me, everything was perfect. So if it all crumbles later, they can play the shocked victim. And that's exactly what Meghan's tone gave: less affection, more preparation. Because notice what she didn't say. She never said, "I love him." She said, "He loves me." It's subtle, but it screams volumes. It felt less like devotion and more like a woman setting up Exhibit A in a future breakup narrative. Every word felt aimed not at Harry, but at us, the audience, the jury she wants on her side. By the end, the cracks were showing everywhere in her words, her poses, her eyes. The very magazine spread meant to make her untouchable turned into a mirror reflecting everything she tried to hide. You could feel the fear under the fabric, the control behind every quote, the loneliness behind every polished frame. And when the cameras finally shut off, that silence must have been deafening. Because behind the designer gowns and designer life, the Duchess of Sussex looked like a woman who'd lost the script and still kept acting anyway. Now, honey, let's wrap this up with what happened after those cameras stopped flashing, because that's when the truth started to seep through the glamour like spilled perfume on silk. When the team packed up, Meghan reportedly lingered, flipping through the preview shots with that tight smile that doesn't reach her eyes. She whispered something about how the world will finally see the real me, but everyone there knew the opposite had just happened. The more she tried to show control, the clearer it became that control was the one thing she'd lost. Once the issue hit the stands, the backlash was instant and brutal. Fans didn't see a reborn Duchess, they saw a woman trapped in her own illusion. Twitter went wild, fashion critics sighed, and even the friendliest outlets couldn't ignore the over-editing, the self-importance, the eerie Diana imitation. It wasn't empowerment anymore, it was exposure. The facade cracked right down the middle, and through it, you could glimpse the fear of someone who built her identity on attention and couldn't live without it. And yet, behind all that, there's something heartbreakingly human. A woman desperate to be adored, terrified of fading, clinging to a version of herself that no longer exists. Harper's Bazaar didn't humiliate her, they simply reflected her back to herself, unfiltered. And that, darling, was the real meltdown. Because when the makeup washed off and the cameras turned away, she wasn't the Duchess, the actress, or the global icon anymore. She was just Meghan, still searching, still performing, still trying to convince the world she's fine, while quietly wondering why the applause has stopped. And that's the story. Sugar. The one behind the shimmer, behind the headlines, the one she never wanted told, but Harper's Bazaar told it anyway.